Hey guys, so if you haven't seen already, I've been wheeling my N70 Hilux pretty hard lately and the tray's really copped a flogging. So while I've been doing a bit of maintenance to the ute, one of the things I want to do is build it a new tray. Something that's a little bit shorter so it doesn't get hung up as much and also is a little bit sturdier so, you know, it can take the odd hit and I don't have to worry about the tail lights falling off and not working on the way home from every trip we go on. I'll also put some tube guards and stuff on it so the guards don't keep getting, you know, bent up out of the way. And a few other little things like a water tank and some little under tray toolboxes and stuff. So that way I've got a little bit more room for tie downs and a bit of water for, you know, washing hands or whatever. So this episode, I'm gonna get into building a tray. I'm not sure how much of the tray will get done before it becomes episode 2, but we'll see how we go. We just finished at work here today, actually building a fixture table. So I'm keen to give that a go too. So we'll see how that goes, putting the, you know, the base rectangle together, probably make it a lot easier, hopefully. It's gonna be a hybrid tray. It's predominantly gonna be an aluminium tray, but it's gonna have like a steel outer frame to sort of protect it and take those sort of big hits. It'll also give us a sturdy headboard and something to mount everything off. Otherwise, everything else is gonna be aluminium to try and keep it lightweight, but still quite strong. So behind me down here, you can see I've got a big pile of aluminium extrusions. I've had to buy a few in, but most of it's just offcuts from old jobs and stuff we've done. So hopefully I can do this keeping the costs down. All right, so I just went out and had a look at the tray that's on it, took a few measurements, and I've come up with the new tray dimensions. I'm gonna shorten it up by about nearly 200 mils. So it's gonna be 1630 mil long, 1800 wide, and then all I've done otherwise is just work out roughly where the C channels have got to sort of run down the guts to mount the chassis mounts and stuff too. So first thing I'll do is I'll cut up some RHS to make sort of the outer perimeter. I'll tack it together on the bench, and then we'll go through and sort of lay out the floor and sort of subframe that holds everything together. All right, so I got it all sort of clamped on and squared up onto the table there. It's the first time using one of these fixture tables. My first sort of thoughts are that it was good, but it was probably no quicker or easier than, you know, it's only 3 pieces of RHS. Probably no easier than just doing it on my normal bench. But I can see how it would be really good if I was making quite an intricate shape and I needed to clamp it down and, you know, keep it sort of on track everywhere. But in terms of making a box, it's pretty easy to make a box on a normal plate table with a nice flat top. So probably wasn't that much easier. Maybe nearly a little bit fiddlier because I was trying to use all the little clamps instead of just like clamping it down with an F clamp and then moving on to the next piece. But we're there now. So I'll just give them a tack, get them all sort of sorted, then I'll get on to the next piece. All right, so I've got the frame sort of tacked up here on the bench a little bit, and the next step is to put the subframe in that the floor will sit on and the guards and everything will bolt to as well. So for that I use Unistrut. And Unistrut, if you're not familiar with it, is this profile here. It's steel, 3mm thick, pretty strong, good to work with. And what it does is you can get these little nuts and all different bolt sizes and stuff. And what will happen is you can put the nut up in and turn it, and the bolt will sit in there and hang, whatever. And you can tighten it up, you know, easy, and they can slide all the way along. And it's really like a universal way of, like, you know, mounting toolboxes and guards, and it's just good to have under the tray for fixtures, basically, rather than trying to just measure and drill and put nutserts and stuff in things. So I've just cut 4 pieces. I'm going to go through and lay them all out. 2 of them will be welded to the tray, 2 will be bolted to the alley. So I'll tack 2 of them in now, and then we can get on to putting the floor in. Hey guys, back in the shed tonight. I've already started, but I'm actually cutting up the extrusion parts to make the floor for the tray. We've got a special guest here tonight. Al from Grouse 4x4's here. So this is the YouTube heaven of Silverdale. So if you're a YouTuber in Silverdale, get here. This is where it's at.
This is where you need to be. You need to be here all day to fight one gear to get it on after 8 hours.
Oh, well, it's together now.
It's together, which is great.
Yeah, what are we doing?
We've got a reduction using our transfer case for the 80 series. And then it also has, are they like a overdrive gear, the high range gear?
All drive gear,
All drive.
high and low range.
It is also a slight reduction.
Yeah, so it's like 4, 5, 6 diff gear equivalent.
Yeah, equivalent 4, 5, 6 diff gears, which will hopefully slow the car right.
Yeah, should be way better on 37s.
Yeah, for 37.
Because if you haven't seen, Al drives his 80 on 37s, pretty hard and very fast.
Very fast and break a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, you doing this?
Yeah, he wants an auto, but this is the easiest way to get one.
Yeah, this is the quickest way to go.
And I am putting the floor in my rectangle over here. So I've basically built myself a GQ.
Hey.
And I've got all my pieces here. And what I'm using is extrusions to make a tray, just like a generic tradie tray. This is the sort of profile. And I've already cut a few bits over here. And this is good because it's super light, pretty strong, and it clips together. So if I get this bit and put it here, you can see when I put this in here, if I can line that up with one hand, that just sort of clips in, and that's our tray. And we just keep going until we've got it long enough to fit into that rectangle over there. So I've just got a few more to cut, and then we'll whack them on there, and we'll have a floor, which is super rigid because obviously it's got all these ribs and sort of strengthening going across ways, but also lightweight because I don't have to have all these steel crossbars and then like a big bit of alley on top. All right, so I got all the floor pieces cut and sitting in, except this pipe is stopping me clipping the last one in, but that's all right. And then over here, I've cut the C channel that will be sort of my main bearers under the tray. So it's 75 by 50 by, I don't know, 4 or 5 mil aluminium C channel. So now I will clamp them at the correct spacing on the bench and then start sort of laying all this out onto that and fixing it down as I go, like building it pretty much like a deck at home. And then once that's done, I can sort of sit the outer RHS around it and we've got ourselves a rectangle. And over here, Al's still going in transfer case weld.
Yes, I'll be stuck here for another hour, I reckon. Yeah, so good news is when you're done.
Yeah, the instructions are on the floor. They've gone now. We don't need them.
They're out. We know what we're doing.
All right, so I've got all my floor pieces cut now. I've got 2 main bits of C-channel as sort of the main bearers of the tray here clamped down on my bench. They are nice and square at the correct spacing to suit my chassis. And I've got the first floor piece clamped down, sort of, you know, balanced out nicely, ready to go. To fix it down, I'm using these huck bolts, which are like a aerospace type fixing. It's a 2-piece rivet. You get like a pin that looks kind of like a bolt. This little collar slides on, and then you put it in this big air gun here, and it pulls on it, it crimps down this little collar, and it shears off the excess bolt that you don't need, so it doesn't really matter, you know, how much length you've got. They're super strong, and they keep it under tension. They don't really come loose like a nut and bolt or a rivet might. So they work really good, and they also don't crack like a weld as well. So I've already got one clamped up and ready to go here, so I'll just stick this in and fire it off, and then once we get this first one on, it'll be a lot easier and quicker to just sort of like lay them on and fire them off. The other nice bit about working with this alley is it's really easy to drill through compared to working with steel. And this will just clip straight into this piece. Just double check our measurements, make sure we're still center, which 350. We're gonna have to move those little flat bars too, but that's okay. We're gonna go under and over. Oh yeah! It's a real staying square balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah, because every time we go.
All right, I'm just gonna rest my pipe on there. Yeah. Is it gonna come off? All right, maybe just leave him there. I'll just take this off.
Yep.
Oh, wait. I did that up tight. Okay, that's that done. Is the pipe gonna fall off?
No, I've still got another 10, 20 minutes.
All right, how good? All right.
Measured correctly.
You might almost think I know what I'm doing.
If it's guess, you might know.
I've measured a thing or two wrong before, so.
I can only imagine because I've measured things wrong as well.
So I got on a bit of a roll and didn't really explain what I was doing here. The alley tie-down track that I'm currently drilling and bolting to the alley deck the bolts will actually go through the uni strut that's below it, welded to the outer profile. And that'll sort of lock the three pieces together and give us a way to fix the steel to the alley all the way around with lots of sort of bolts and fixing points to keep it all nice and straight. So I finished work early one day and thought I'd get a bit done on my tray while I had a bit of space, and the tooling was already set up. So I folded up the tail light housing for the back of the tray with the help of Lewis here. The final piece of extrusion to go on the back of all these little planks that I've been putting down has a return that you can kind of see here. So because it's a fixed length, I left all these pieces of steel, the uni strut and also the RHS, a little bit long because I wasn't sure how long that would actually end up. So now I've just put a little offcut there to work out the total length, and I'm just going to trim up the C channel and the RHS and the uni strut all to sort of suit that length. I'll put that bit of extrusion on, and then I can go to tacking on the rear tail light housing onto the back. You can see here how having that last piece of extrusion really tidies up the back of the aluminium and gives it like a real nice stiff edge to sort of keep really straight and square if you sort of were using that as the back of your tray. But now I'm going to go ahead and put the nice steel sort of profile along the back here to mount the tail lights in and box it all in nice and strong. Now I'm just sitting the steel profile in place and working out the sort of distance I need to trim off the ends of the RHS to slide it up so it's nice and flush with that extrusion. And then I've made a return on this steel that will pick up that rear lip on the alley, and I'll be able to run a few bolts in it from the back there to sort of tie them together and keep it nice and tight. So I've got the second set of uni-strut runners bolted in here to the bottom of the floor, ready to accept guards and toolboxes and stuff. I've folded up and tacked on the rear tail light housing, which is going to accept obviously the 2 lights on each side, and has an opening here for the trundle tray where we'll mount the number plate and hide the number plate light up under here. I've also sort of trimmed all this down, had to cut it down with the grinder because it ended up being a little bit long, because I have a short piece of extrusion in here that is the rear tail piece of the tray. And that gives us like a nice straight edge, something really stiff so it doesn't bend, and also something to bolt this to underneath here. I can put some bolts through here and bolt them together, and then when I want to take the steel piece off to get repowder coated or whatever, I can just go through and unbolt that, and then where it sandwiches it with this tie down track through to the uni strut that's welded in under there, and then the whole steel piece will lift out, and I can go and get that painted or powder coated or whatever. So that'll do for this episode. So if you want to see how it progresses, make sure you're subscribed and keep an eye out for the next video to drop. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one.